This is a story from when I was a child. Today I am almost 30 years old and I would like to say that I see it differently now, but the truth is that remembering it still causes me the same fear as when I was a 7-year-old child. Since I was in the preschool more or less I began to have a recurring dream. A dream with a witch, a woman who came for me at night. The witch literally. A horrible woman dressed in black with an almost disfigured face, with horrible features and white hair and mistreated, and strange sounds coming out of her mouth. I saw her fly over the large vacant lot that was next to my house. In my dreams I told my whole family that the witch was there, but no one seemed to care. I grew up and the dream changed little by little. By the time I dreamed of her 2 or 3 times a week between elementary school, she was getting closer each time. I remember seeing her floating about 20 meters from the window, already very close to our fence, in front of the window of our living room. As in the first dreams, I told my whole family, praying that someone would listen to me, and for these dreams at this stage there was always someone who believed me, but it always didn't matter who it was. The answer was the same: hide under the window. Yes, under the window, in front of which she was always looking in. In the dream the woman the witch continued to torture me several nights a week, as I kept having the same dream over and over again. Again, as it got closer, I remember the impression I had when I saw her inside our garden, slowly climbing the fence like a spider. My mom in this dream always gave me the same answer. She believed me, but she gave me the same answer: hide under the window. And soon after he got closer and closer, until, while I was under the window looking up, I could hear him scratching on the glass with his long black nails. About that time he told him I told my mom about my dreams, and she began to pray with me every night before going to sleep. I thought that because of the risks she believed, it would be her answer to my nightmares. I kept dreaming the same thing and my mom began to sleep next to me every night. If for some reason she couldn't send my older brother, and I remember very well most of all the last dream was a kind of mixture of all the others. First I saw the witch floating on the ground vacant, and then gradually approach floating with hands to the sides, wanting to scare me. Doing the position of a virgin, stopped floating just after passing our fence and crawled towards the window, like a spider. My mom told me he told me to hide, and like all dreams, the rest of the family pretended that they couldn't see it, that nothing was happening, while the witch next to my window scratched it and moved looking in, looking for me like a locked animal desperate for food. As always, I look up under the window. This time it is the last dream. My heart almost broke out when I heard the sound of the window opening. I closed my eyes and cried. I yelled at my whole family, and still in the dream, everyone was looking at me, with a terrified face. At that moment I felt nails digging into my shoulders, and when I turned I saw his horrible face, with wild eyes and a horrifying smile. At that moment I woke up with my family around and a doctor in a hospital clinic. I had had a fever and according to what they tell me I was about to die that night. I spent one more night in the clinic and the rest for me is a bit blurry. In my memory, unlike this dream, it forced us to change houses. Shortly after and many years later, when I was 15, they actually told me what that stage of our life was like. We did not stop renting that house to look for a bigger one as they had told me. Said, the problem had been a woman who used to be on the roof of the house right in front of ours. When they crossed the vacant lot the whole family began to write it down. A few nights, 3 times a week on average, stopping at the roof, just looking towards our house without doing anything else, just towards that living room window, where I hid in my dream. No one cares about it because it was not the first time they had come across an old woman with strange hobbies. They did not ask the neighbor, the owner of that house, for fear of bothering her with questions about what they supposed was her mother or grandmother, ever looking out that window expecting to see the silhouette of the lady on the house. My dad was surprised to realize that this old lady was standing in the middle of the adjoining lot, right in the middle of the 2 houses. The next morning a neighbor told him, who was unaware that there was an old woman living in that place, but who did know about some children's tales from the oldest neighbors on that street about a woman, an old woman who practiced Satanism and scared anyone unlucky enough to run into her. The nights, But that had been many years ago. Even so, this began to worry my family in a certain way, because weeks before precisely I had told them about my dreams. I, like my brother, had never seen the woman in the roof. Since then my mother slept with me and prayed. The day I had my last dream, the day of that fever that almost killed me, they saw the woman walking through our yard of houses silently alone, pacing in front of the windows. The next day, while the whole family was in the hospital with me, my mother went to the neighbor's house to confront her, to complain to her about what the old woman had been doing, and to ask her not to let her come near us again. The neighbor was a woman, a very friendly and serious young woman, scared and quite confused. She told my mother that only she and her husband lived there. No old woman lived with them. There was no one else, she told her. Now she understood the footsteps that they constantly heard on her roof of the house, and her husband appeared several times, several nights, that the noises and footsteps they heard, but never saw anything. That same day, they began to look for another house like my parents, and we moved soon. And well, this is my story, and I have to make a confession, a question. I don't know how to tell you, since I've been following your YouTube channel. I just told my girlfriend about this story and asked her if it was worth sending it to you. Since then I've returned to dream of that woman,